Breaking news from SOXFEST here at Ramova Theater. The Chicago White Sox have made a major addition this offseason. Sean Anderson of CHGO Sports here at SOXFEST 2026. Will this be a VOD? Will this be a vlog? We'll find out.
Early in the offseason, I got on a phone call, Zoom call with Fuller and some of our hitting coaches, and we kind of just went over the season. You know, of course the good, but then also not the bad, just more of things that, you know, you need to maintain and, you know, just continuing to get better, because this game is, you know, 5-10 years ago, this game's already totally different. So you just got to be able to adjust and keep getting better. And I think for me, it was just being aware of, you know, what I need to do to get myself out of if I'm feeling a certain way. If that's drills, mindset, or anything. But mostly I've just been preparing myself mentally to play 162 or maybe more.
Is that the milestone? Is that the milestone for 2026? Is to play 162?
Yeah, play as many games as I can. I think last year it was probably around 140 or something like that, 135. And I know I can. That's probably one of my milestones. You know, I want to be out there every day. You know, we all want to be out there and competing every single day, and I think that's one of my biggest goals for next year.
It seemed like you sharpened up a ton over in the MPB. Is there anything like you're still trying to hone in, maybe pitch mix wise? Like what are you trying to still maybe carry over from the MPB?
Yeah, I think, you know, just, you know, staying consistent with all my pitches. You know, I think, you know, all the stuff is there now. I just need to, you know, be consistent with it and you know, lock in and hone in on, you know, being as consistent as possible with it.
Yeah, and then I know you faced Mooney over in the MPB. What is it like facing that type of player, and did it feel like facing a major league hitter when you were going up against him?
Yeah, I mean, he's special. I mean, there's no reason why, you know, he can't have success over here. I think, you know, the power's off the charts, of course. You know, I think, you know, obviously they talk about the strikeouts, but I don't think that's really that big of a concern for him. I think, you know, there's no reason why he can't, you know, have success over here.
Yeah, and then like with Mooney, how different was it pitching to him compared to other Japanese hitters? Like obviously, you know, way different power than typical Japanese hitters,
yeah.
But, you know, were there spots that you felt like you couldn't throw to him at all? And like, is that why the walk rate ends up being so high for him? Yeah,
I mean, he was on the worst team in the league, unfortunately, over there. So, you know, you didn't want him to beat you, of course. So if there's no one on base, you weren't giving him anything good to pit or anything good to hit. I mean, the only power comparable in the MPB for him was probably Okamoto, who signed with the Blue Jays. So I think, you know, those two guys were for sure big league hitters, and I think, you know, their power is, you know, why they're in the big leagues.
Yeah, and then what was your pitching schedule like? Were you every 5 there, or was it every 6?
Every 7.
Every 7?
Yeah.
So how do you think that's going to play in? Like you used to obviously pitch every 5
yeah.
over here, and then you went for a year,
yeah.
and you know did that every 7. Like, what's it going to be like reacclimating?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the biggest obstacle I think I'll have coming back over here. You know, I've had a lot of dialogue with, you know, the pitching staff and to kind of try and figure that out. And you know, I think, you know, obviously it'll be a work in progress. We'll figure it out like as we go along and find out what works best and, you know, what doesn't. And I think. You know, they've obviously had the success with Eric Fetty coming back from Korea, so I think, you know, they know what they're doing with it, and, you know, I think we'll be okay.
Is it a pure stamina thing? Like, is it, you know, I just got to go run for 20 more minutes a day, or is it just a feeling of the arm and make sure that, you know, you don't feel weird start from start?
I think it's just stuff in between, you know, the workouts, the running, you know, the throwing program. I think you kind of got to, you know, obviously you want to, you know, get after it in between your starts, but you also got to be ready for the next one. So I think, you know, finding a good routine in between each outing will be the difference.
Here with Tanner McDougal of the Chicago White Sox. Tanner, it's been a huge year for you. What changed from 2024 to 2025?
Yeah, a lot. I think I just went into the year focusing on myself, not focusing on things around me, and just, you know, being in the moment, having fun, playing a game. It's a game at the end of the day, you know. Very privileged to play a game for a living, and you know, you might as well live it out and play it to the fullest extent. I think I was pressing a lot in 2024, just trying to be something I wasn't, someone I'm not, and you know, had some trials and tribulations, but honestly, I would have had it any other way. I think struggling then really helped me, you know, like almost bolster me into this last year, just kind of recenter me. I think that, you know, just being able to come in with like an open mind and just understanding that like, hey, like, you're really good, just do your job. You know, it helped. and here we are.
Well, in the draft process, it was really touted that you had high spin rates. Like, have you seen your stuff change since being drafted in 2020, or is it more about consistency with that stuff?
I don't think so. So, I mean, it's more of consistency, I think. I think the stuff was always there. It was just learning to be a pitcher, not a thrower. I think I've learned to pitch. I think they've taught me to be, an all-around pitcher. Where, growing up, I pitched, but it wasn't my main thing. I played the field. I did this. I did that. So I was just always taught to be an athlete. So, I could get up on the mound and do what I had to do. But when it came down to it, I think they took a really good, blueprint and kind of formed me into, what they needed and what they wanted, and what they obviously saw I could do. But I wouldn't say there's been a change in the stuff. I just think there's a change in the way I go about it, and just the process of it.
What have you appreciated about starting pitching? Is there anything about the process or about the length that you really do enjoy?
Yeah, I want the ball in my hand at all times. That's one of the hard things about being a starter, because if you have a bad one, you got to wait a week. You got to sit and just kind of, sit in it, and it's not fun. But starting's, I love starting. It's great. You feel like as a pitcher, the power's in your hand. You have the ball. The game doesn't go unless you go. So starting's just taught me a lot, just because it's like, you might have a bad first inning, bad second inning, but you got to keep going, because you got to get to 5, 6, 7 innings, and it's just taught me a lot about resilience.
Is there something that you've been working specifically on this offseason? Is it trying to build up stamina for like 2+ inning outings, or are you trying to just find more consistency in the zone?
Yeah, I think mainly consistency with my slider in the zone. Every other pitch was above average in zone, and that was the one that I was kind of disappointed with last year mainly. I didn't feel like I trusted it in the zone. Kind of fought it a little bit, trying to make different pitch shapes, and went back to something I trusted this year. And I think I've made a lot of really good success with it this offseason. I'm excited to use it come spring.
Yeah, you made the jump from starter to reliever. Do you feel like starter's still in your future? Maybe not this year specifically, but down the road if you continue to push through in the bullpen?
Yeah, I like to think so. I enjoy it. I think it's something I want to do. It's not going to be in 2026, but we'll see. That's not something to worry about right now.
Yeah, for sure. And then final one that I have for you, like, you are one of the best extenders on this team. I think it's like 7 feet 1 inch. Is that something that's always come natural to you, or is that something that you have maybe chased to try to get a very long extension?
It's something that's just kind of natural. Like it was never something I chased. I honestly didn't even know it was a thing until I got to college. But it was. I was surprised at how far I actually was out there, like comparative to like a normal pitcher.
When did that changeup start to develop? Was that in camp, or was that something that you were working on in January that started to take shape in February?
Yeah, that was an off-season project for me last year. I knew it would benefit my arsenal. I didn't really know what it would look like, and I didn't think it would metrically look like that. But just playing around with it was something that kind of had good feel for, and a changeup's always a field pitch, so it's tough to, I'm going to always have it, but I feel better about it now, and probably that'll go away in the next couple months anyway, and you're going to find it again. So it was an off-season thing last year.
Was that pre-White Sox, or was that something the White Sox had you work on?
I was pre-White Sox, but in talking to Katz last year, it's like, hey, we want you to throw a changeup, and I was like, perfect. I've been throwing one. So, it worked out, and they had a similar vision for me as I did myself, and I think that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, and one thing that it felt like carried you throughout the entire year was the breadth of the pitch mix. I think you had 5 that you could solidly rely on. Do you feel like it's 5 pitches right now, sinker, 4-seam, slider, curve, change?
Yeah, I think so. I think once I started introducing the 2-seamer, middle to back half of the year, I think it made my life a lot easier, and I think the name of the game is just throwing strikes. You can have 5 pitches. If you throw 1 for strike, it makes the hitter's job a little easier. So, making sure I can spin slider curveball for a strike or change it for a strike when I have to. I trust my fastballs. I trust my fastball. So, I know I'm going to throw that for a strike.
Were they just easier? Like, did the sinker allow you to throw strikes more? Did it help you with righties? Like, how did it make your life easier?
Yeah, I think with the changeup, a lot of hitters, righty and lefty, just kind of gave up on the bottom of the zone, because if they see it at their knees, they're kind of just taking because they know it's going to dive. And once I had a 2-seam, kind of had similar spin, I knew I could kind of start that at the hip, and knew it was going to finish at the knee. So made them respect the bottom half of the zone a little bit more.
Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Are they going to be good this year?
Hopefully.
Do you like that Japanese player this time, Munetaka Murakami?
I haven't heard a lot about him, but hopefully do good this year.
Do you like home runs?
Oh, good.
He hits a lot of home runs.
Yeah, man. Hopefully I'll take my daughter to a couple games this year and we get some wins, man.
And that's a wrap from SOXFEST 2026. We talked to Colson Montgomery. We talked to Tanner McDougal. We talked to Shane Smith. We talked to Sam Antonacci. We talked to Grant Taylor. I didn't even say Sam Antonacci's name right. That's it for CHGO here at SOXFEST 2026 at the Remoba Theater.